My sister disciplined my son at the church, and my mother laughed, saying, 'Don't call the bastard.' The sun spilled golden light over the quaint little church, the air buzzing with laughter and the sweet scent of blooming flowers. It was one of those Sundays that should have felt perfect. Yet Lisa, a frazzled single mother, entered with her heart pounding. Just hours ago, she had another explosive argument with her sister, Rachel. About how to raise children properly, Rachel's stern ways against Lisa's more relaxed approach. As Lisa scanned the busy pews filled with families, her own restless 8-year-old son, Alex, bounced at her side like a rubber ball, fully igniting her anxiety. This Sunday was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to reconnect with a faith that felt all but lost. But now it felt heavy with unsaid words. Halfway through the service, when the choir's sweet voices harmonized with blissful innocence, Rachel stormed into the picture. Lisa's eyes widened as she too. Why was Rachel doing this? All she felt was a tightness in her chest, and Alex's wide eyes filled with bewilderment, threatening to spill over with tears. Their mother, seated a few rows back, caught Lisa's eye and wore a mischievous grin, her laughter almost mocking. "Just ignore her and don't call the pastor," she whispered with a conspiratorial lean, the words swirling like a challenge between them. Why would she say that? It felt all wrong. Lisa's stomach twisted at that moment. She could feel the bitter turmoil boiling within her. She was trapped, caught between her instincts as a protective mother and the looming shadow of familial loyalty that hung heavy in the air. This wasn't the graceful Sunday service she had dreamed of. It felt like a reality show gone horribly wrong. As the congregation continued, blissfully unaware of the drama playing out in their midst, the world around Lisa faded into the background. All she could see was Alex's face, brimming with confusion. Lisa felt so alone, her heart racing as she internally battled whether to leap to Alex's defense or hold her ground amid the churning emotions sibling rivalry brewed. What would happen next? Would she confront Rachel in front of everyone, or protect Alex from this strange blend of family loyalty and public humiliation? The whispers of the congregation danced in the air, teasing the edge of resolution and escalation. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. Oh, and while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every... Alex looked up at Rachel, confusion etched into his young face, pupils dilating with fear. Lisa's breath caught in her throat, wishing she could rewind the moment. Just a single heartbeat. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Alex whispered, his voice trembling, sparking an even deeper sense of dread in her. She opened her mouth to respond, searching for the right words that wouldn't drench their moment in shame. But before she could say anything, Rachel's piercing voice cut through her thoughts like a jagged blade. "Sit still, Alex. This is a house of God. Show some respect." Each word was sharp, echoing in the heavy air, stirring whispers among the congregation. Lisa caught glimpses of heads turning, eyes flickering with judgment, and faces filled with disapproval. A sudden thud broke through the tension. A wooden chair toppled over at the back of the church, and before any words could settle, the sanctuary door flung open with a deafening bang. It was Mark, Lisa's estranged husband, storming in like a tempest. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lisa's heart sank. Mark hadn't walked through those doors in years. Guilt knotted her stomach as the memories flashed back. Hasty arguments, tears, and the silence that followed their split. The last thing she expected was for him to show up, especially during a moment already drenched in chaos. "Leave them alone, Rachel!" Mark shouted, each syllable laced with urgency. Lisa felt her knees weaken as she caught Alex's apprehensive gaze darting from Rachel to Mark. Did he even know what he was stepping into? Rachel turned, her expression morphing into disbelief, then fury. The light shifted in her eyes as she prepared to defend her ground. "You have no right." "Right? I have every right." Mark's voice cracked, raw and pained. Lisa felt the weight of his words pull her closer to an edge she didn't realize she was on. "You've been tearing this family apart for years, but I won't let you bully my son." The congregation gasped again, the air thickening with tension. The murmurs of judgment grew louder, as if the walls themselves trembled with the revelation of this hidden family drama. Lisa's heart felt like it was shattering. She realized she could either embrace this unexpected ally or drown in the chaos surrounding them. But the next moment, a chilling laughter echoed through the hall, reverberating like a haunting melody. Their mother, seated behind them, was laughing, almost maniacally. "Oh, you all are so blunt." Lisa's head spun as the crowd turned toward her mother, stunned. The shock searing through her was palpable, each breath becoming a struggle. The room felt suffocating as the glaring spotlight shifted. "Mom?" Lisa whispered, fear crouching in her chest. "What do you mean?" "Your father wasn't the man you thought he was," her mother revealed, a smirk teetering on her lips. "And neither is Mark. You all have secrets." "What secrets?" The room spun. Hearts raced, and voices collided in a cacophony of confusion. Lisa's whole world felt like it was cracking apart at the seams. She locked eyes with Alex, seeking a glimmer of comfort, but only saw fear mirrored back at her. Could this awful revelation be what torn their family apart? What more had been kept hidden? The congregation buzzed like wasps, accusations swirling beneath the surface, while Lisa felt trapped in a storm of family betrayal that threatened to drown her. The uncertainties hung in the air like a slow poison. What did it all mean? What would come next? As the room vibrated with shocked murmurs, Lisa felt a whirlwind of emotions collapsing inside her. The gaze of every person in the church was locked on her mother, who seemed to revel in the chaos she had ignited. Lisa was panting now, her heart thudding like a war drum. What secrets? All she could think was how this day had spiraled from a hopeful reconnection to a tangled mess of family drama. "Mom, stop!" Lisa called, trying to regain control, gripping the edge of the pew. "What are you talking about? This isn't the time or place. You're all so naive," her mother snapped back, the manic gleam in her eyes shifting to something darker. "You think you know everything, but the truth is, your father was a monster." The congregation gasped collectively, the air thick with disbelief. Fear shot through Lisa. What was she even saying? The tension crackled like static electricity, and Alex clutched her hand, his small fingers trembling. Rachel, finding her footing again, stepped forward, fists clenched. "You need to stop lying. You're the one who made everything worse." More chaos erupted. Voices clashed like swords as people began to shout in confusion. Lisa suddenly felt a tingling sensation dance up her spine. In the commotion, a familiar face appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the bright sunlight pouring from outside. It was Mark's older brother, David, with a worried expression on his face. "What's happening here?" he boomed, striding toward the front. "David!" Mark shouted, relief flooding his voice. "Help me here! Rachel is—" But before Mark could finish, David stepped closer to their mother, his brow furrowing. "Mom, what are you doing? Why are you bringing this up?" "Because they need to know the truth," she insisted, her voice rising. "And you're part of it too." "What truth?" David shouted back, frustration boiling over. "Is this because of what happened years ago? Are you bringing up our past?" Everyone fell silent, the room seeming to hold its breath. The air was so thick, Lisa felt she could barely wade through it. Secrets? What had David meant by that? But as the spotlight fell on David, his expression changed. He looked pale, almost sick. "You've got it all wrong, Mom. You don't know what you're talking about." And then, like a light bulb flickering to life, realization washed over Lisa. She remembered the whispers, the broken promises, the secrets they had buried when their father passed. They had all tried to move on, pretending everything was fine. But suddenly, it all felt far from fine. As if ignited by an unseen spark, David shouted, "You think that's the only truth? What's worse is... ... Is Mark isn't Alex's father?" The words hung suspended in the air, like a firework freeze-framed in the night sky. Time stopped. Lisa's breath hitched. The world blurred around her as disbelief crashed down. No, it can't be," Lisa choked out, searching frantically for some sense of logic, anything to ground her. "You're not his biological father," David insisted, while Rachel's face turned pale as realization dawned on her. Suddenly, the implications of David's words weighed heavily on the atmosphere, crushing hope like dried leaves underfoot. "What?" The word escaped Lisa's lips, a mere whisper drowned in the swirling chaos of emotions around her. A new wave of tension surged through the congregation, gasps replaced by whispers, and in the pulsating silence, Lisa's mind raced. What did this all mean for her bond with Alex? As her heart twisted with fear, a deep ache settled in her chest. What other secrets lay buried beneath the surface? Would this revelation tear her family apart even more? And as Lisa's eyes locked onto Mark's, confusion and pain mirrored in his gaze, one question burned brighter than the rest. Who was Alex, really? The tension in the room felt like a drumbeat, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Lisa's mind swirled with disbelief. What? The word escaped her almost inaudibly, swallowed by the reactions rippling through the congregation. All eyes were now on Mark, who stood there frozen, face paling. He seemed to search himself for answers, while David's words hung like thick smoke, choking the air. It can't be true, Lisa gasped, clutching at her throat. Right? Mark took a step forward, his gaze darting around. I don't understand. How can this be true? He was grasping at straws, eyes wide with confusion and fear. The weight of the moment pressed on them like a heavy fog. Clouds of uncertainty swirling ominously. Rachel moved closer to Lisa, her anger shifting to an uncertain softness. You know what? Let's figure this out together. Maybe there's... But before she could finish, a terrible crash echoed throughout the church. The stained glass window shattered, sending shards of colored glass cascading to the ground, like rain from a broken sky. Gasps filled the room. Eyes widened in horror. People turned, mouths agape, scrambling for shelter, or just for a better view of the chaos. In a blur of movement, a figure darted through the door, drenched in rain, and... clothes clinging and face hidden beneath a hoodie. Lisa squinted, her heart racing. Who was this? Get down! A voice yelled, sending a chill down her spine. The urgency sliced through the murmurs, crystallizing panic. Before anyone could react, the figure lunged forward, pulling something from their pocket in a swift arc. Time froze. Lisa's breath hitched as she braced for the worst. Was it a weapon? Fear gripped her heart, a vice she couldn't shake. Who are you? Mark shouted, stepping protectively in front of Alex. What do you want? The figure yanked down the hood, and a shockwave jolted through the crowd. It was a face Lisa hadn't seen in years, a face she thought lost forever. Jessica, her long-lost sister, the sibling their mother never mentioned, the daughter from a past buried deep beneath layers of hurt. Lisa! Jessica shouted, voice trembling yet fierce. You have to believe me. There's no time. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Jessica's presence peeled back layers of secrecy, exposing wounds Lisa had nearly forgotten. The whispers of betrayal, the long shadows of their father's secrets, engulfed Lisa in a chaotic embrace. Why are you here? Lisa's voice cracked, the initial shock giving way to something deeper, pain mixed with the flutter of hope. I thought you were gone. You don't understand! I'm here to warn you! Jessica's eyes darted frantically around the room, locking with every familiar face. It's not just about your father. David stepped forward, tension etching his features. "What do you mean? What do you know?" "Everything," Jessica whispered, drawing them in. "About Alex and who he really is." A cold shiver ran through Lisa, leaving a trail of dread. What more lay beneath the surface of their fractured family, hidden under layers of lost time and forgotten truths? As Jessica's words sank in, the shadow of uncertainty grew darker, surrounding them all. "You don't have much time! They're coming!" she panicked, anxiety palpable. The congregation held its breath, collective fear painting wide eyes and gaping mouths. The familiar warmth of trust and community had twisted into a theater of foreboding. Who's coming?" Lisa demanded, heart racing as she grasped the weight of the moment, feeling time slip through her fingers. That connection snapped tight, creating a tense silence filled with unspoken words. All she could do was remember Alex's frightened gaze, questioning the world around him, just as her own heart raced with questions. Lisa felt the air evaporate. Who was this new player in their tangled story? And what unspeakable truths were about to surface? Would this revelation shatter the fragile ties left holding them together? Or could it lead to an unexpected reunion? The storm outside went silent, yet inside the church, a tempest was brewing, mingling anger, confusion, and a flicker of hope. And in that silence, it felt as if they all held their breath, waiting for the next explosive truth to unravel the fabric of their lives. As Jessica's urgent voice echoed through the church, a collective breath held in suspense. Lisa felt the weight of the moment. The walls seemed to shrink around her, compressing all the noise into an unbearable silence. Her heart raced, every beat pulsating with tension. She searched Jessica's face for clarity, for answers. "What do you mean? About Alex?" Lisa squeezed Alex's hand tighter, feeling the warmth of his small fingers against her clammy palm. Before Jessica could. This time, it was a pair of unfamiliar figures, faces masked in shadows, their stance rigid and commanding. They stepped inside, eyes sweeping the crowd with a predatory gaze. The atmosphere shifted like a storm brewing. "Jessica," one voice called, a low, gravelly tone laced with unyielding authority. "We found you." Fear surged through Jessica's eyes. "No, please, not here," she faltered, stepping back, her expression shifting from defiance to despair. Mark, still bewildered from the unfolding chaos, took a protective step forward. "Who are you?" he demanded, voice laced with urgency. The congregation shuffled, heads tilting in curiosity mixed with fear. Lisa's heart pounded in sync with the rising panic around her. But before she could process this threat, the second figure stepped into the light. A glint of recognition flickered across Lisa's mind. "Tommy?" she breathed, disbelief flooding her. He was a childhood friend, a boy from a different life. Memories flooded back, laughter over shared secrets, innocence before everything fell apart. But the man standing in front of her was different. The carefree boy Lisa once knew looked hardened, angry. With a swift nod, Tommy declared, "Jessica, this isn't over. You need to come with us now." "Leave her alone!" cried Lisa, a surge of protectiveness sparking in her. "Why are you doing this?" And in that split second, a soft gasp rippled through the crowd like a wave washing over the shore. "She's in danger, Lisa!" Tommy shouted, his voice elevated above the panic. "You have no idea what's at stake!" Before Lisa could process his words, the first figure lunged forward, grabbing Jessica's arm. "You have to come with us! You can't be here!" Screams erupted in the crowd. Alex buried his face in Lisa's side, trembling. Everything felt surreal. The tension clutched at Lisa's chest like a vice. The air turned electric. "Stop!" Rachel shouted, rushing in front of Jessica, her protective instincts taking over. "You can't just take her!" But Tommy's gaze was fierce as he replied, "You all don't understand. She's not just your sister. Something in his tone shifted. The way he hesitated before finishing his sentence made the air crackle. All eyes were on Jessica now, the atmosphere heavy with expectation. "Jessica," Lisa pressed, desperation edging her voice. "What do they mean? What are you hiding?" Jessica teetered on the brink of revelation, her eyes darting, mouth opening and closing as if wrestling with the words. "I didn't want you to find out." Before she could finish, another crash cut through the tension, reverberating off the walls. The church ceiling trembled as a window shattered above, sending shards cascading down like glittering daggers. Gasps mingled with screams. This was no longer just a family drama. It was a chaotic eruption of fears laid bare. "Get down!" Mark shouted, shielding Alex. Lisa's heart raced. Everything unraveled before her eyes. Emotions clashed, shattering her world into a million fragments. Amid the chaos, she caught a glimpse of Tommy's face. Something buried deep in his expression tugged at her instincts. A familiarity she couldn't shake. Maybe he wasn't just a friend. The thought pierced through her confusion as Tommy shouted, "You don't know what you're mixed up in! Jessica is—" "Shut up!" Jessica cried, her voice breaking under the weight of truth. Just tell them I'm not who they think I am." Silence fell. A shocked stillness blanketed the church, hearts pounding, waiting. Lisa felt the ground shift beneath her, reality bending into something unrecognizable. "What?" Lisa whispered, fear tightening her throat. "What do you mean?" But before Jessica could explain, a familiar voice rippled through the crowd, rich with a malevolent familiarity. "Oh dear, did you really think she wouldn't find out?" Their mother, still seated, leaned back with a tinged smile, her eyes gleaming with a secret that felt darker than night. "Jessica is not just my daughter. She's yours, Lisa." Time stopped. Shockwaves crashed through the atmosphere. Lisa felt pull after pull as everything she thought she knew began to crumble. Who was Alex, really? Every gaze in the room shifted back to her with wide eyes, unraveling threads of a complex web she never understood. And as the weight of that truth crashed down, Lisa took a deep breath, feeling the cracks deepen. What else lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered? What family secrets remained locked away, ready to surface? As the weight of their mother's words sank in, a hush fell over the church. Lisa felt like she was drowning as disbelief washed over her. Jessica? Her sister? This new truth shattered everything. What? Lisa's voice trembled, barely a whisper. How can you say that? Tension wrapped around the congregation like a tight grip. Eyes darted between the three women. Mark clenched his fists, uncertainty painted across his face. Rachel stood frozen, mouth opening and closing, but no sound came out. Jessica stepped forward, desperation etched in her features. I didn't know how to tell you, Lisa. The truth has always been complicated. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the church, a flash of red as a mysterious figure broke through the fray. He was tall and menacing, cloaked in a dark coat that billowed like storm clouds. A murmur surged through the crowd, fear pulsing like a living thing. "What is happening?" someone gasped. "Securing the perimeter," the stranger barked. His voice cut through the chaos, sharp and efficient. "Get the child out of here!" Laughter erupted from their mother, her expression teetering on madness. "See? They've come for her, haven't they?" "They know! Mom! Stop!" Lisa shouted, her voice cracking with a blend of anger and pain. "What do you know?" But the stranger wasn't listening. He moved through the congregation with purpose, eyes scanning, hunting. The atmosphere turned electric, alive with confusion, and Lisa's heart raced in her chest, pounding with both fear and adrenaline. "Get down!" Mark yelled, pushing Alex behind him as the stranger advanced, a wordless command slicing through the murmurs of the crowd. Jessica's eyes widened, panic swirling in her gaze. "No! You don't understand! I'm not safe!" Lisa hesitated. Should she trust Jessica? Confusion twisted in her gut. Why? What do they want? Suddenly, the initial tension snapped like a taut wire. The cloaked figure surged forward, lunging toward Jessica. "Stop!" Lisa screamed, adrenaline flooding her veins. In that instant, a blinding flash illuminated the front of the church. A gunshot rang out, the sound splitting the air. Time seemed to freeze. Everything ground to a halt. Lisa felt the world tilt as she turned, eyes wide, heart racing with disbelief. Jessica crumpled, gasping as if time had stolen her breath. "No!" Lisa rushed forward, reaching for her sister, who lay crumpled on the floor, pain etched across her features. A crimson pool spread beneath her as shock rippled through the crowd. Eyes widened in horror as whispers turned to screams. "Somebody help!" Lisa shouted, her hands shaking, her voice battling with rising panic. She knelt beside Jessica. "Stay with me! Don't you dare leave!" But Jessica's eyes fluttered, the light within her dimming. "Lisa," she choked out, words slurred with pain. "It's all connected." "Please, no! Help!" The cacophony around her blurred into a storm of chaos, but Lisa's focus narrowed in on her sister. The stranger stood frozen, eyes widening in horror as he realized what he had done. "No, I didn't mean... Mark stepped forward, fury igniting. "You shot her! What's wrong with you?" Jessica's hand slipped from Lisa's grasp, fingers cold and lifeless. The cries of the congregation spiraled into frantic chaos. Lisa looked up, desperation twisting in her chest. The man's demeanor shifted from menacing to panicked. "I wasn't supposed to be here," he exclaimed, eyes darting wildly. "They'll find out that I... But before he could finish, the church door burst open again. More figures invaded the scene, their intentions shrouded in darkness. Lisa felt untethered, fear wrapping around her like a cold blanket. The chaos engulfed her, a sea of questions crashing over her. What was really happening? Why was Jessica targeted? And what deadly secrets were still buried? "Jessica!" Lisa sobbed, cradling her sister's head. Panic surged, threatening to drown her. "Stay with me, please!" Would she survive this nightmarish reality? Each heartbeat bore the heaviness of truth. Objects she once took for granted shattered like glass. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance, closing in. The sound seeped into the church, mingling with fear. How deep did this rabbit hole go? As danger encroached, their world shifted, ready to upend everything they thought was true. And with a final flicker of light fading from Jessica's eyes, Lisa realized she was in a fight for more than just her sister. She was wrestling with the very fabric of her existence. Who were they? And what did they mean for her family? Lisa cradled Jessica's head in her trembling hands, the warmth of her sister's life fading like a candle snuffed out in a gust of wind. Panic surged through her, a tidal wave that left her breathless. "No, no, please," she pleaded, feeling fragments of hope shatter around her like broken glass. "Somebody help her!" Mark's voice faded into the background, becoming a low murmur as he continued shouting for help. The world around them blurred, and all Lisa could feel was the coolness of the church floor beneath her knees and the alarming stillness enveloping Jessica. The cloaked figure, who had become a symbol of chaos, backed away, uncertainty plastered across his face. The congregation surged forward, a collective wave of instinctive concern. But the stranger remained frozen, caught between his guilt and the fear of what was happening. "Get away from her!" Rachel shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lisa and Jessica. "You started this!" But the man's focus shifted. "I didn't mean to hurt her," he shouted, desperation lining his voice. "She's not supposed to see." "What do you mean?" Lisa's voice cracked, barely above a whisper. "What does that even mean?" The tension in the room thickened like fog rolling in. Suddenly, the wild laughter from their mother sliced through the confusion. "Oh, isn't it ironic? You're all chasing shadows you can't even grasp." Gasps erupted from the crowd, disbelief rippling through the air. It was a moment suspended in time, like a bird caught mid-flight. "Mom, stop talking!" Lisa's voice was raw, an animalistic bruise of pain pushing her to lash out. "You don't know what you're saying!" But her mother only laughed more, a chilling sound that echoed against the stained glass. "You think you know what family means? You think you understand love?" And then there was silence. a fragile stillness before an approaching storm. The cloaked figure took a shaky breath, seeming to gather himself. "No, don't do this!" he called out, eyes darting. It happened in an instant. The air shifted like a jolt of electricity sparking through the silence. Without warning, he lunged forward, a blur of motion. Lisa's heart dropped, instincts overriding her thoughts as she shielded Jessica's body. But what came next shattered everything in an entirely new way. The stranger reached into his coat, and from it emerged a small device, metallic and cold. "He's coming! We have to move!" The device hummed, illuminating his face, revealing eyes filled with a tidal wave of fear as he pointed it towards Jessica. "No, we have to protect her from what's about to happen." "Protect her from what?" Rachel demanded, voicing everyone's mounting confusion and fear as she took a step back. "What do you even mean?" Jessica stirred, consciousness flickering before her eyes. What are you doing?" she gasped, her voice breaking through the chaos. In that moment, something shifted within the cloaked figure. An expression crossed his face, a flash of recognition that electrified the air. "Jessica, you have to remember." "Remember what?" Lisa yelled, the urgency clawing at her. But just as confusion reigned, a familiar voice cut through the tension from the doorway, deep and resonant. "Enough!" It was David, Mark's older brother. "We don't have time for this nonsense!" The moment stretched as everything froze, the focus shifting towards him. He pushed through the crowd, his eyes locked onto the cloaked man. A simmering anger held tightly within him. "Jessica, you're the key. You just need to—" Before David could finish, the metallic device flickered crimson, an ominous whirring sound piercing the air. The ground trembled underfoot, waves of heat rippling across the church, filling every crevice with a sense of impending doom. In that split heartbeat, Jessica's eyes widened and something clicked in her expression. "No, it can't be. Time's up!" The cloaked figure roared as the lights flickered, plunging the room into a strobing darkness, the red glow pulsating like a heartbeat. And just like that, the truth burst forth from lips that had kept it secret for too long. "You don't just want Jessica, you need Alex." Gasps erupted in unison as Lisa's heart raced. Everything she thought she understood twisted into an incomprehensible knot. The revelation hung in the air. Sharp and crystalline, a dagger slicing through the lingering confusion. "Alex?" Lisa echoed, every word lodged painfully in her throat. "What do you mean?" In that terrifying moment, the walls of her world began to crumble, casting shadows that rented her heart asunder. The congregation trembled, every gaze now heavy with suspicion and confused fear. What was it that they'd all overlooked? "Lisa, you don't understand." Jessica's voice faltered. "Alex isn't just your son." The bank of truth released its flood, threatening to drown them all. As confusion swirled, Lisa looked at Alex, fear pooling in her stomach. What is happening? Who is Alex? In that unexpected chaos, hearts raced, truths lay bare, and the lines of loyalty teetered on the edge of a knife. Everything had changed, but why? With every heartbeat, she felt the possibility of something dark looming ahead. What power did Alex truly hold? Whose child was he, really? The crowd held its collective breath, eyes locked on Jessica as she struggled to speak. "Alex isn't just your son," she started, but her voice faltered, the weight of those words hanging heavily like a dark cloud in the still air. Lisa's heart raced, every beat echoing doubts and fears, a wild symphony, urging her to unravel the truth. "What do you mean?" Lisa pressed, her voice trembling, much like her hands. Panic surged within the congregation. Whispers darting from one person to another, hunger for answers igniting questions that hung like static in the air. "Please, Jess, just tell me," Lisa pleaded, desperation gripping her throat like a vice. Just then, the cloaked figure snapped back to reality, panic flashing across his face. "We don't have much time," he insisted, his eyes darting to the exits as dread seeped into the atmosphere. "They're close." Before anyone could comprehend the warning, the earth trembled beneath their feet, a rumble that rolled through the church. Lisa stumbled, grasping the pew for stability, her breath hitching at the sudden chaotic turn of events. Amid the chaos, the walls themselves shook, plaster crumbling as dust swirled up into the air, filtering the faint light from the stained glass windows. Gasps erupted from the congregation, a wave of fear cascading through the crowd as they staggered back, confusion turning to panic. This wasn't just personal anymore. Something deeper, darker, threatened to break loose. Then, as if summoned by their trepidation, the other figures lurched forward, their movements swift and decisive. "We need to leave now," one shouted, urgency lacing every syllable. The masked men rushed to Jessica, eyes filled with a desperate plea. "We really don't have—" Suddenly, out of nowhere, another blast emerged, reverberating through the church. And it wasn't a voice or a sound, but something crashing. The front doors slammed shut, as if a force unseen barricaded them, sealing their fate. The smell. Mark shouted, crouching protectively over Alex, panic etched in every crevice of his features. Rachel screamed, pulling Alex close, the raw terror visible as she shielded him from the chaos unfolding. "Jessica!" Lisa cried, reaching for her sister, the despair overwhelming. "No! Don't let them!" Just as Lisa grasped Jessica's hand, a blinding light filled the room, illuminating the shadows and casting long silhouettes against the tumult. A figure emerged from the brightness, shrouded in an aura that felt both foreign and strikingly familiar. "Stop!" The commanding voice cut through the chaos like a sharp knife, silencing the frantic whispers. It was a voice Lisa recognized, one she hadn't heard in years. Her father. Dad! Lisa couldn't believe her eyes. The man she mourned, fought to be gone forever, appeared before them. He looked aged but strangely powerful. His gaze pierced through the crowd, clear and commanding. "What's happening?" someone nearby shouted, confusion blooming among the stricken faces. I'm here to protect my family, he declared, eyes narrowed in determination. They can't keep you apart. What? Lisa felt her world spinning once more, the ground disappearing beneath her. You're alive? Her father ignored her stunned disbelief, turning instead to the cloaked figure. You have no claim here. The past is not your weapon. He stepped closer, an invisible fire igniting around him. Why did you come back? Jessica gasped, emotion flooding her frail voice. What does this mean? But before he could answer, a deafening roar echoed across the church, shaking the windows, a malicious presence lurking just outside. You can't stop this, the cloaked figure shouted, rage filling the air as he was thrown back by an unseen force. In the moment of chaos, the truth clawed at Lisa like a wild animal. Her father, a man thought lost. Jessica, her sister. Alex, caught in a web of tangled loyalties and secrets. The past crashed into the present, blending identities and truths until nothing was certain. Just then, the figure who had been at the center of their fear collapsed, revealing a dark circle inked on his wrist. It illustrated a family crest, one Lisa recognized but had never truly understood. Her breath caught, a chill racing through her spine. Suddenly, the fragments of her life began to fit together, raw, breaking free like a burst dam. What is the connection? She shouted, desperation squeezing her heart. What does it all mean? As the storm raged outside, her family stood on the edge of a precipice, the shadows whispering secrets that yearned to be told. Everything she had known was shifting, the very foundation cracked and splintering. But the greatest shock lay ahead, a revelation yet to surface, waiting to pull them further into the churning abyss. What did it all mean for her family? And who would emerge on the other side intact? The room felt electric, charged with the weight of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Lisa looked at the cloaked figure, his face twisted in confusion and fear. What do you want? She demanded, desperation tightening her voice. The shadows danced across his features, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath all that darkness. Alex, it's not just about him. He took a shaky breath. You need to understand why I'm here. But before he could continue, the door burst open again. This time, it wasn't just people. A blast of freezing cold air swept into the church, sending chills through the crowd. The sound of sirens wailed louder now, but they were different, more urgent, an omen of chaos. And men, a voice echoed through the church, cutting through the tension like a knife. You cannot hide from your past, Lisa froze. It couldn't be. She turned slowly to see a woman stepping through the door, her silhouette framed by blinding light. The moment she fully entered, gasps filled the room. It was Jenna, Lisa's estranged mother-in-law, the woman who had loomed large in their lives before the divorce, her presence once a constant shadow. Jenna! Lisa's heart raced, a mix of dread and confusion swirling inside her. What are you doing here? I'm here to save us all, Jenna replied firmly, her voice a battle cry. Before it's too late. Save us? From what? Rachel shouted. The uncertainty filled the air like fog, sprinkled with disbelief. But Jenna ignored her, turning her gaze to the cloaked figure. You have no idea what you've unleashed. The man recoiled slightly, uncertainty flashing across his face. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, Jenna shot back, her voice rising. In that moment, the room crackled with tension, whispers of disbelief mingling with fear. What do you know? Jessica asked, her voice shaky yet demanding, shifting back to the forefront of their family's struggles. What's going to happen? Everything is connected. Your father, our past, and Alex, Jenna said, her eyes narrowing in sudden clarity. But as she spoke, her words seemed to lose their power, not just for them, but for her as well. Suddenly, the cloaked figure's composure cracked. You don't know anything, he yelled, the rage in his voice echoing throughout the church. The time for reckoning has come. In an instant, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small device, pointing it threateningly at Jenna. The tension soared, gasping breaths filling the air. Put that down, Mark shouted, adrenaline pumping through him. He stepped forward protectively, preparing to shield Alex. But Jenna's expression shifted abruptly. Fear morphed into something else. Determination. You need to understand, she said, locking eyes with the cloaked figure. It was never about Alex. It was about me. Gasps pulsed through the crowd, shock painted across every face. What are you talking about? Lisa demanded, confusion biting through her anger. Jenna took a step closer, her voice dropping. I've kept secrets from you all. I had to protect you. She turned, glancing at Lisa, Rachel, and Mark, then back to the cloaked figure. Alex isn't just your son, Lisa. He's mine, too. He's your brother. A stunned silence engulfed the church, freezing everyone in their tracks. Panic rose within Lisa, tumbling in her gut. What? The shock pierced her veins as she stared at her mother-in-law, searching for answers. You're saying he's my brother? Yes. Jenna's voice rose with desperation. Your father and we had Alex before the marriage. We thought we had to keep it all hidden, but now it's all coming back, like it always does. We're all tied together in this web. The words hung heavy in the air, a noose tightening around their collective disbelief. And just then the ground shook violently underfoot. The windows rattled as the oppressive weight of truth crashed down like a wave, sending dread spiraling through the congregation. As the walls shuddered, growing cracks spiderwebbed through the church, Lisa felt her heart start to race uncontrollably. You can't be serious, she shouted, the disbelief rising like smoke. The cloaked figure's face twisted in anger, real fear betraying him now. This was never supposed to happen. Outside, the sirens blared louder, imminent danger closing in. Shadows danced against the walls, and time itself began to lose meaning. Lisa gripped Jessica's arm, trembling. What does this all mean for us? But amidst the confusion and fear, as the history unspooled, Jenna stepped back, her face paling. It means we need to brace ourselves for what comes next, or we might lose everything. And then, as the world tilted ever so slightly off its axis, Lisa stared at the gathering storm ahead. What had they awakened? And what would the truth ultimately destroy? As the chaos swirled around them, Lisa felt the world tilt on its axis. The church trembled, walls cracking under the weight of their combined truths. Jenna's revelation cut through the noise like a blade. Alex is your brother, Lisa. We have to face this together. No! Lisa's voice broke, panic clawing at her throat. This can't be happening. My son? How could he be related to you? The cloaked figure staggered back, confusion dancing in his eyes, as if he couldn't fathom what Jenna was saying. You're lying, he shouted, desperation bubbling. You'll all pay for this. Enough! David's deep voice surged through the panic, grounding them momentarily. With a fierce glare, he stepped forward, his presence a shield. We're not afraid of you. The tension hung heavy in the air, breaths caught between disbelief and dread. But as Lisa's gaze flitted between Jessica and Alex, her heart began to pound with another kind of energy, a fierce resolve. This was her family, no matter the horror of their truth. Listen, if we're going to face what's coming, we have to do it together, Lisa said, her voice rising above the chaos. Mom, if what you're saying is true, we need to figure out how to protect Alex. As if summoned, the ground shook again, prompting uneasy gasps from the crowd. They're coming, the cloaked figure yelled, eyes wide with panic. We have no time. With a swift motion, Jenna grasped Lisa's shoulders, the urgency burning in her gaze. I made mistakes to protect you, but it's time to break out of this cycle. We can't let the past dictate our future. Lisa's heart raced, and she nodded. Their choices would determine everything. Their safety, their family, their futures. Just then, the doors burst open once more, and a wave of cold air swept into the room. Several figures clad in dark attire poured in, eyes scanning the crowd. The moment hung thick with fear and anticipation. Alex, huddled close to Mark, clutched at his hand tightly, confusion flickering in his eyes. Mummy, what's happening? He asked, voice trembling. It's going to be all right, Lisa soothed, feeling a surge of fierce protectiveness. I promise, we're going to get through this. In that moment, something shifted. The cloaked figure stepped forward, raising his device. I won't let them take me again, he shouted. But Lisa could see the uncertainty in his eyes, the cracks in his bravado. Alex is safe! Lisa roared, her voice echoing through the chaos. You don't have to do this. Join us! Silence enveloped them, everyone's gaze fixed on the cloaked figure, who looked between Lisa and the people surrounding her. As he faltered, the shadows seemed to waver where they stood. Jenna seized the moment. Together! We face them together for our future. For Alex! With a deep breath, the cloaked figure dropped the device, its hum falling silent. You're right! I can't run anymore. I'm sorry. His voice broke as he stepped closer. It wasn't just fear in the air anymore, but hope flickering faintly against the uncertainty. Outside, the sirens wailed louder, rumbles of chaos beckoning. They needed to move. "Time to go!" David shouted, rallying the group. "Together!" Rachel echoed, grabbing Alex's hand as the line transformed, united in purpose. As they fled, Lisa felt the warmth of family tighten around her. They would face whatever came for them, stronger together. But as they stepped beyond the threshold, what loomed outside was still unknown. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the setting sun, the looming shadow of their past. "I've been waiting for you." The tension hung in the air, a tightrope stretched above the abyss. What awaited them next? You must subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Your support is vital. Hit that like button, feed the algorithm, and let's keep this community thriving. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait 1 second longer. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to know how this all unfolds. Your engagement makes a difference.